Welcome to Tea in the Garden, a sacred space where wild hearts gather, ancient wisdom is remembered, and conversations bloom.
We are three witches rooted in curiosity, creativity, and conscious living, here to sip the truth and spill the tea on what really matters.
From the mystical to astrology to ancient civilizations, shadow work, and everything in between, we are not afraid to go deep, get really honest, and have a lot of laughs along the way.
I'm Lauren New.
I'm Savannah Alloway.
And I'm Priscilla Doak.
Welcome to the garden. Let's pour the tea.
Today's episode is all about twin flames.
We are here today to take a big fat dump on it.
Sit your ass down because we're about to lay it on you. The fun facts about twin flames.
The fun facts.
Not so fun.
The not so fun facts.
Not so fun underbelly of twin flames.
The dirty underbelly.
Dun dun dun. Or what I was saying earlier is like twin flames, in my perspective, of the shamanic practice, is that I mean, it could be a thing, it could be, but I think it is turned into, and it's kind of obsessed over, like, yes, you can have a contract with another soul in
Mhm.
this life. Souls can say, hey, I want to meet with you in this life and have a particular experience so that I learn X, Y, and Z, or so that I can play a part in this role in X, Y, and Z so that I can have that experience. And so, but I think people over romanticize that and hold on to that and then have created this crazy label that they hang on to so tightly and like make excuses for trauma and red flags and all kinds of stuff because, well, they're just my twin flame.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. Exactly. And I think that today's episode, we really want to dissect some of the ways that twin flame concept, lingo, rabbit hole can really be super destructive to you and very disempowering for you. And we want to break that down because there's so much hullabaloo out there about twin flames, truthfully, like not to mention the whole twin flames universe, which is like the worst example, the worst of the worst when it comes to this topic. Here's the thing with twin flames. In a world where someone really is, let's say, your authentic counterpart, they're part of a divine partnership for you in this lifetime, you don't need to ever define them as a twin flame until maybe you're married for 30 years, just a thought, or like deep down your path of actual partnership and union. At that point, maybe we can speak on those type of concepts and that type of mirroring and partnership and the work that it takes. But when you immediately meet somebody or even are in the initial phases of dating and you're a spiritual being, it can be so easy and tempting to immediately put this new identity onto them and to the relationship. And that can be such a confining box.
yeah, and it's like, how can the last seven people you've dated been your twin flame? Like, and sometimes it doesn't clock.
Yeah.
I'd like to bring up my beef with twin flames, and that's mainly twofold. One is you're not whole by yourself. You are half of a whole. That's a big doctrine in the twin flame rhetoric. And two, there is this hallmark experience in a twin flame connection, allegedly, where there is a separation, right? Where there's then a runner and a chaser.
Mhm.
And this is perfectly mirrored and seen as a dynamic in abusive relationships.
Yep, those are. I'm so glad you brought that up because those are my exact same points of contention. The most contention that I have with the rhetoric of twin flames is that can clearly, how easily that can lead and spiral to fitting any two people whom are in an avoidant or anxiously attached connection, whom are triggering the shit out of one another connection, or like you said, at the worst level, even in an abusive type of situation, can all fit into that definition, right? And so I've seen so many really sweet, naive, and vulnerable beings get pulled into the trap of more of that toxicity in their relationship, using this concept as a further mask and excuse for the way that they're being treated or the way that they're treating someone else, right?
Mhm. And because
Right.
they're your twin flame, you cling on to them for dear life, though. There's like an
Yeah.
unhealthy level of attachment. The truth is, sometimes we just outgrow people that we're romantically involved with. But
Hmm. Hmm.
if you believe in your heart that that's your twin flame, like you're gonna be dragged along where like a relationship was healthy and beautiful, but you're unable to part with it, it does take a turn for the worse and get into abusive territory.
Yeah. And like I think this happens a lot where they put all of these like, well, if it's this, if it's that, then it's a twin flame. And it's like one of those things is mirroring, right? So even if that is true, even if they are a mirror for you, it doesn't mean you have to suffer through it. Mirrors can be walked away from.
Right.
We don't have to keep staring at the same lesson again and again and again. Sometimes the lesson is for you to not be with that person,
Mm.
you
And
know?
many people, I think, just simply don't know that, like, the, that every single relationship in our lives is a mirror. So it's not that that isn't special with that person, it's that every relationship, in my humble opinion, has that same specialness if you see it as such, right? Because that person who's intimately involved with you is always a huge mirror for you. That is a reality, that is a truth. And so you are going to see that. When you want to see it, you're going to see it. You're going to start to notice it. You're going to start to notice those patterns.
And just affirm your own delusion endlessly until you literally have to leave them.
Right. And where it becomes, I think, super problematic is the latching onto one, a one. Because what does that do, right? Even if that love was going to be extraordinary, healthy, long term, you've now actually kind of cut its potential short because of the box, the expectation, and the attachment that you've put it into, right?
Hmm.
You've now created this unhealthy container that the love can't even flourish in. And so even if that person in a perfect world could have been a divine partnership for you in whatever form, um, it gets squashed by that, I find. And so it's
Mhm.
like, in my opinion, again, it doesn't ever need to even be said while it's being lived. Even if in the back of your mind you're thinking it, whatever, think it, contemplate it, question it, but like let your relationship be organic. Let your love be organic. Let your experience be
Hmm.
organic so that you don't fall into the trap of like, oh shit, I put all my eggs in this basket. Oh shit, I've defined this relationship as the end all be all. And therefore, if they leave, if I walk away, devastation, devastation, failure, right? All of these like really disempowering stories come into play.
Mm. And it makes me think too of like this very Americanized the one
Hmm.
belief. Like that is such a societal concept,
Yeah.
that is very heavily held in the US and not as much in other places, because they have other practices and stuff. But it's like the as our extreme need to make everything so special or like to outsource that
Mm-hmm.
specialness. And it's like what it makes me think of is those moments, and I've seen so many memes of this, but it's like when you see an ex and you're like, wow, that person really isn't shit. But at the time that it felt so special, it felt so this, it felt so that, and you realize like you were the magic, you were the thing that made them so special.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like maybe you're the one. And I feel like those people who have been sold this dream of the one is out there, has
Yeah.
it is a pacifier to the true root wound of you not feeling whole, like you were saying, and not enough for yourself. And so that's where I feel like the twin flame perpetuates, and why we don't like it so much, because it's it's something that is a lie.
Yeah.
in a way.
No, it is. And it's such a disempowering concept. And I really like what you just said, because it is true that this is a new age idea. This does not exist in, generally speaking, in any indigenous tradition that I am aware of. The concept is never like one put into this one person, or that a soul could be split, and that, like Savvy started with, that a part of you is missing and you're going to be incomplete and going almost crazy without that other person being in your life. Ooh, like that's so wrong. If we look at every indigenous nature-based lineage on earth, truth repeats itself time and time again, and truth does not need defense. One soul in one body, complete as we are. We have always been complete. We have always been whole. We have always been from source, of source, a child of source, right? And in so many different terms and languages, this truth is always conveyed. And there is the concept of soulmates, but I much prefer to use those type of terms, because to me, soulmates are plural. There can be so many beautiful soul family, soul mates, soul connections in our lives that are, I mean, you two are soulmates of mine.
Stop. I was like, you guys are my soulmates.
I have
I have my,
so
you
many
know.
platonic soulmates in my life that are some of the most significant loves of my life and always will be. And I think that aspect is also overshadowed by this concept that a romantic love is the missing link for our spiritual completion, that a romantic love is the missing link for our happiness, our wholeness, our fulfillment. We not only are already whole as we are, but also we have so many beautiful reflections that are mirrors for our soul, our friendships, our familiar relationships, our chosen family, and our partners that come in and out of our lives. But I think that those can be many. And I also believe that soulmates exist for different versions of you, truthfully. In my personal experience, fully believe I have been with multiple soulmates in this life already, most of which could probably, if not arguably ever, be in that same dynamic with me again, because I'm an utterly different person than I was when I was with them. But they were such a beautiful container for me at that time. And it doesn't mean that a love isn't real if it doesn't last forever. I think that we also have this false idea that like forever means it's real, forever means it's a success. I do not prescribe to that anymore. I really believe that true love can happen in an instant with a stranger on the street, and you never see them again. It can happen in a 3-week relationship with someone you met on a trip, and that was your capsule, that was your moment. It can happen with a partner of 10 years. It can happen with someone you had kids with but leaves your life at some point, and it can happen with someone who you end up growing old with. But I think that we have such like toxic definitions of what success and love really looks like in the West, as you were saying, Lauren, like
Mhm.
portrayed to us in every fucking story and fairy tale and movie, right?
Yes. Since we've recorded last, I've gotten married, and based on everything you said, I I knew I've been in so many relationships in my adult life, and I've had those, falling in and out of love, and it was real at that time, and then we outgrew each other. When I went to get married, like, okay, let me lock it down, I didn't look like, how much do I love this person?
Mm-hmm.
Which some people might be like, that's fucked up. But I looked at how compatible are we as partners
Mm-hmm.
and friends and roommates.
Yeah.
Can our friendship,
So
our,
important.
our
Love isn't
compatibility,
enough. Love isn't enough.
it's not. It is and it's not.
Right.
It.
Let me back what I'm saying, okay? You guys hear me out. Don't like come for me. Love alone to stay in a relationship is not enough. There are
100%.
relationships that can be unhealthy, unbalanced, uncompatible, and you truly love that person, and that person truly loves you. And sometimes the most loving thing to do for yourself and for that person is to walk away.
Yeah.
Okay.
100. No, you're so right. And I think that anyone in their journey of like emotional maturity, whether that's through spirituality, self-development, therapy, you learn that healthy interdependent love, not codependent love, is absolutely based in many factors outside of love alone. It is more based in illusion that or romanticism that we think that love would be enough to choose somebody forever, or to choose, or to even be in a specific type of relationship with that person. Truthfully, wholeheartedly, I believe you can fall in love with anyone. You really can. In the right circumstances, you can fall in love with somebody.
If you're a Libra.
No, but really, like, love can grow. You can always be like, love can always be there in different forms and varieties, right? But as you mentioned, like, that is not what makes a healthy partnership, especially. It's
Mhm.
not even what makes a healthy friendship. You can love a
Mhm.
friend to death, and if you don't have certain other factors of communication, compatibility, shared goals, shared values, that's also not going to be probably the best container for either of you too, right? So yeah, I think we're living in a time where everyone is really thirsty for connection and for genuine relationships, and it's because they're missing God. They're missing
Period.
they're missing nature. They're
Period.
they're missing themselves. And we're told to look for it in all these places. And little do we know, it's like the best psyop of all time that, like, of course, within now a spiritual lingo has convinced you of the very same story that you tried to walk away from, which was like the traditional family model, the traditional prince and princess Disney story kind of love that we kind of like deprogram ourselves from, in a sense,
Oof.
just to walk into the same trap in
And
spirit.
that's the danger of the new age. Everything we see in puritanical fundamentalist evangelicalism is perfectly mirrored in the new age. Instead of the one husband that you save yourself for and get married at 18 to and endure whatever he wants to do to you and say is the leader of the household, that's the twin flame is the exact
Right,
one to
right.
one. Like, it's, oh sorry, it's your husband. Oh sorry, it's your twin flame. You just,
As your
that's
twin
what it
flame,
is.
that's what it
You gotta
is.
deal with
Yeah.
it.
What are your guys' thoughts? I would like to speak a little bit more now on the that kind of one of the tropes of twin flames is this period of separation, and that, like you mentioned, the runner
Mm.
chaser kind of dynamic.
Can
What?
I read the Google definition for twin flame?
Yeah.
So I just typed what is a twin flame into Google. A twin flame is a spiritual concept describing two people who share one soul, often originating from the same source and existing as mirror souls. This deep, often intense connection involves an irresistible attraction and a feeling of deep recognition where each person mirrors the other's strengths and weaknesses. The
You know what
relationship.
else? Oh my God.
What? Go ahead.
This sounds like a trauma bond. We
It
have to have
is. It
trauma
is.
bond.
No, that's what I was saying. It's literally one to one. For think of like someone who in the church got married at 18. Hi, Lauren. Because they were
Two
forced
days after
into
high
it.
school, I got married, guys. 2 days after graduating high school.
Because they were forced into it for one reason
Mhm.
or another, and they just have to deal with that now. Like, sorry, this is your twin. Like, it is one to one with that concept, and one to one with the overlapping concept of
It's
how
like
abusive
God's will. This
relationships
is
go
God's
down.
will.
Right.
God willed it.
Intense
This is your twin
connection,
flame. Like,
deep
hmm
recognition. It's literally just
yeah.
what you're describing there is love bombing, which is the first step of narcissistic abuse. Let me finish here. The relationship is characterized by its dual
hmm
nature of being both challenging and healing. That's the back and forth we see a lot in these abusive relationships between, like, when it's really good, it's really good. When it's really bad, it's really bad. And it brings interferes and insecurities to the surface while also providing a powerful catalyst for spiritual growth and transformation. I just described an abusive relationship.
Every relationship, no matter how healthy or compatible, will absolutely trigger you.
hmm
Let's make that clear. You will get triggered, but there is a very big difference when you are in a safe container working on triggers mutually than when you are not in safety with one another and there is no container established there, right? And there's this
hmm
push, pull, blame, fighting, like harm that is being caused to one another in the process, right? And it's a fine line. It's such a fine line, and it's so easy to cross that line and to not really know what's in front of you, what you're involved in, and when to change that dynamic, when it's necessary to change that dynamic for yourself, right? And that's, I
Hmm.
think, why it is hard for people. It is really hard for people, especially spiritual beings whom have the tendency, especially the more highly sensitive beings, right? We have the tendency to overtake responsibility in our relationships.
Hmm.
That is something that I think has actually been a huge challenge for me personally. And my journey in love has been, when I was in situations that were teetering on very unhealthy and or emotionally abusive toward me, I was like, wait, but this is just like, I'm manifesting this. This is my mirror. And
Hmm.
it's such a like crazy psychological warfare we can get into, because we're overtaking responsibility for another person's treatment of us and for another
Hmm.
person's reflection in our lives. Yes, people are mirrors for us, but also they are responsible for their own behavior. They're responsible for their own emotions. And that's where healthy relating comes in. That's where I feel like it's so important, as even as spiritual as we are, to learn the psychological and therapeutic concepts of codependency in relationships, and how to have an interdependent love, a love that is not based in unhealthy attachment styles and like this kind of dynamic with one another, because otherwise you can go down that road so easily. I've seen so many people go down that road. So yes, tell me your thoughts, ladies, on the runner and the chaser in particular, though. Like, is there anything you would share about what you feel like that actually is?
Attachment styles,
Mm.
avoidant attachment, and the anxious attachment or dysregulated attachment style can be in there as well.
Mhm.
It's just enmeshment,
Mm.
trauma bonding, feeling an extreme attraction to someone, and feeling familiar. It can actually be your body telling you this person is like my abuser.
Ooh,
And
ooh.
we unconsciously have this pull towards this person so that it can heal. So sometimes, yes, you are manifesting it, and you're manifesting it so that you can choose differently this time. We recreate these experiences. That's why so many women marry their father. I've done it 3 times. Um, and it's the unconscious, the soul's way of trying to show you, hey, this isn't quite done yet. This isn't quite right yet. When I really started healing, the people that I was attracted to became very unattractive
Mm-hmm.
because I no longer was attracted to that type of pattern, that type of behavior, that type of energy, right? So it's like sometimes that deep attraction that, oh my God, this is like, we must have been together lifetimes, is actually your body's inner
Yeah.
system saying, this person is just like the unsafe experiences that I had before.
You know
So,
what? And that actually reminds me of something that I had talked on some years ago about karmic relationships in particular, and how, like, from the dharmic perspective, what's happening is that both are true. You could absolutely remember that person and have had a ton of past life connections with them. What does that mean though? More likely than not, they're a karmic relationship, not necessarily a new love, a soulmate that is aligned for the version of you that you want to step into, but something that is an old,
Mhm.
repetitive cycle. That is what we tie to karma or karmic relating, is like there is a cycle that we've been part of. And again, that's actually not entirely a negative thing, because truthfully, you have to live those things out. As shitty as it may be, if it's in front of you, it means it hasn't been closed yet. But the great news is too, and the empowering thing is, we also have the freedom and the sovereignty to walk away from it at any point, to decide we're done with that cycle consciously and to choose differently, right?
Mhm.
But a lot of times that familiarity, like you mentioned, that we can also tie to like a trauma bond that is making our all of our senses tingle toward that person. we can also categorize as that, as this kind of karmic relating that is going to take place with this person, that is purging something out of us, that is really going to bring out negativity that in some way probably needs to be brought out and needs to be looked at ultimately, but that we also have the opportunity to step away from. And I will totally like be vulnerable here and say that the two relationships I've had across the years that were really my only like unhealthy relationships that were very damaging to me as a person were the two people I would tell you to this day I've had the most attraction to by far. Like, I mean, it was like I have this weird like pull, like, oh my God, like I feel this like chemical pull to them. And I have such a visceral in my body attraction to them in a different way than I had with anyone else. And they were the two connections that were absolutely the most karmic for me, that tied deeply to wounds and patterns I was closing out in my life and that I had been living for many, many years since my childhood. And and so I feel I definitely have evidence to the reality of that in my own life.
I'm exceptionally wary these days of anyone I feel like, oh, they look like these people that I used to know. Like, nope. I literally will think about, there's actually like someone who I'm like, do I want to make them a friend? Because I'm, introverted and there's a big gate for me between like acquaintance and friend. And because I like to treat my friends very well, and we only have so many resources to do that and time to do that with, and social battery. But I was looking at her face and I was like, she reminds me, she looks like this person and this person from my past. And I thought about how my relationships went with them, and I was like, I'm good. We can be
Wow,
acquaintances.
that's super interesting. I really like that.
Yeah, you know what's funny too is just to kind of mirror what you guys said is the people who were like probably the worst for me or brought out the worst of me. And I was, yeah, were people that I was just like obsessed with,
Hmm.
obsessed, and it's like, oh, maybe the slow burn is better,
Well,
you know?
here's like what I would, just for people who are like new to some of this kind of concepts or work, like there's different types of chemistry, right? The chemistry we're talking about right now, that like pull, that obsessive feeling, the visceral body response to somebody that is really like overly intoxicating, is dysregulation. It is dysregulation.
Well, because when we grow up with as degra- when we grow up with dysregulation as our norm, that becomes what we think is normal.
Right.
And so it's like that butterfly feeling you have or the dysregulation that you're feeling like that feels so great because it reminds you of your childhood.
Right. And that type of, the chemistry that is actually feeling like there is some anxiety mixed in, there's a, I'm kind of like on the edge of my seat. I don't really want to eat on this date. I have like my appetite dropped. There are certain signs that are indicating to you your body is not in parasympathetic. It is not grounded and it doesn't feel safe in that person's energy. When there's a love in front of you that you're still really attracted to, actually, that you have an amazing physical relationship with, but you're safe with, you don't have that same feeling. What it feels like is your body feels like it can exhale. You feel like you can eat more, you could sleep more around them. You feel like you're not you're not like wired. You feel calm. You feel like, it's like I'm kind of at home with this person. I feel really calm. I feel totally myself. I feel in my body right now. I'm not blasting off. I'm not shaking. I'm not overly excitable. I'm not losing my appetite. These are some of the things that you can kind of clock that your body is in regulation or dysregulation. So there are different types of attraction and chemistry that you can have. And there is a healthy version of that, of course, right? We've all had relationships in our lives, have or had, that are that have amazing physical chemistry and sexual connection, but are super healthy and very compatible and loving toward us, right? but there is that fine distinction to make. So it's something to really digest when you are feeling like you're in this twin flame situationship of sorts. Like, make sure that, are you being honest with yourself? What level of compatibility do you really have with this person? What level of regulation do you really have with this person? And where is that coming from in you?
Or you can fuck around and find out because it's too damn exciting, and then come to us acting a fool. And I'm gonna look you dead in your eyes because I've heard too many people for one lifetime tell me, I think I've met my twin flame.
Mhm.
And I'm gonna ask you, do you want me to slap you in the face with my hand or my words? Or
Go off,
both?
Virgo big sis.
And they're like, both, mommy.
Yeah. So any final thoughts, guys, on advice, insight onto the slippery slope of twin flames for everyone
It's
listening?
better if you just forget this concept altogether.
Yeah, I mean, there's no like prize for being labeling it right, right? If that's what it is, then that's what it'll be. If not, it won't, you know? Don't over attach yourself to the labels of
Mhm.
things and allow yourself to use your discernment and your grounded awareness to base your decisions for your life.
Mm.
Period. Be responsible. Use
Mm.
discernment. Come on.
Yeah, give your love and your relationships an organic chance for them to show you what they are. That's it. That's my final thoughts. And
Mhm.
I hope that there was wisdom in this for you, there was reflection in this for you, whether or not you've ever used this term, just in the way that you are relating to people in your life and the way that you might be defining those relationships. And hopefully this gives the relationships in your life actually a better chance of being healthy, loving, and sustained, right? So thanks, guys, for coming to this podcast. This is Tea in the Garden.
The tea was hot
Yeah.
today.
We'll see y'all in the next
Mm.
episode.